There's a saying that goes, life is a cycle, and some cycles need to be shut down because they no longer fit into your life. So close the door, change the tune, clean house, and stop being who you were so you can be who you were meant to be. Unfortunately, for my man Javaris, he refused to shut that cycle, which potentially caused him to miss out on becoming the man he was meant to become. All because he wouldn't acknowledge his growth and leave the past behind. But enough with the introduction, let's get into the video. Here's what happened to Javaris Crittenton. Javaris Crittenton was born to parents James Crittenton Jr. and Cyan Dixon on December 31st, 1987. He was raised on the south side of Atlanta by his mom. As you can imagine, the environment he grew up in could be harsh sometimes, and he probably saw things as a kid that kids shouldn't have seen. But a young Javaris seemed to have stayed away from the bad stuff and focused on hanging out with friends and hooping. It would actually be his hooping skills that would eventually give him his first opportunity to escape his situation. Because after his freshman year in high school, recruiters took notice and he was offered admission to Southwest Atlanta Christian Academy to team up with future NBA Hall of Famer Dwight Howard. But Javaris almost threw this opportunity away as he was reluctant to attend the prestigious school because he preferred schools in his neighborhood and wanted to attend schools in that area. But after some convincing from Dwight Howard's dad, who also was the sports director at the school, Javaris ended up joining the school and in his sophomore year helped lead the school to a state championship. After Javaris' sophomore year, Dwight Howard left the school and declared for the NBA draft, which would now make Javaris the top dog of the team. Javaris led the team with 28 points per game, 7 assists, and 8 rebounds as a junior, as well as got the team back to the state championship, but was beaten in the state game by Randolph Clay. He will follow up his amazing junior year performance with an even better senior year, averaging 29 points per game, 9 assists, and 7 rebounds, leading the team again to the state championship for the third year in a row, but capping it off this time with the win. At this point, Javaris is big news on the recruiting circuit as he finished his senior year as the 7th overall player in the nation and as a top point guard ahead of names such as Mike Conley, Ty Lawson, and yes, even Steph Curry. He was receiving a lot of comparisons to Steve Francis as scouts were mesmerized because he was a big, strong guard with good body control who could absorb contact when penetrating defenses. But Javaris wasn't just a force on the basketball court, he was a force off of it as well, as he was elected class president in 9th, 10th, and 12th grades, as well as student government associate president as a senior and held a 3.5 GPA. The young bright man who regularly helped out in his area doing volunteer work for several charities. After his senior year, he committed to Georgia Tech to team up with future NBA player Thaddeus Young. Him and Thaddeus would help lead the Yellow Jackets to a 20-12 record, which was a 9-game improvement from the prior year. Unfortunately, their season would come to an end in the first round of March Madness in a close game against UNLV. Javaris would lead the team in scoring, averaging 14.4 points per game, as well as dished out 5.8 assists. He did have an issue with turnovers though, averaging 3.9 per game, which showed he could be reckless with the ball, and this hurt his draft stock. But he was still named to the ACC All-Freshman team, as well as 3rd-team All-ACC, and after his first season of college ball, he declared for the 2007 NBA draft, and was selected with the 19th pick in the first round to the Los Angeles Lakers. He would appear in 20 games for the Lakers as a rookie, averaging 3.3 points per game before being sent in a package to the Grizzlies, which would land the Lakers NBA All-Star Paul Gasol. It is also speculated that during his time with the Lakers, Javaris had got himself into some trouble because he would end up joining a gang known as the Mansfield Gangster Crips. They operated out of the LA area. This will be important later. But after his trade from the Lakers, he would spend a very short time with the Memphis Grizzlies, appearing in about 35 games, averaging about 5 points per game, before being traded again, this time to the Washington Wizards. And during his time with the Wizards, he will be involved in a very infamous moment with his teammate Gilbert Arenas. According to Arenas, the story goes like this. JaVale McGee had won some money from Javaris in a card game, and that Javaris was getting upset because JaVale wouldn't give him a chance to win his money back. So Arenas steps in and things get escalated. Arenas tells Javaris, man, I'll burn your car down while you in it. And Javaris like, man, then I'll just shoot you. And then Arenas fires back. He's like, man, I'll bring you the guns for you to shoot me. So he proceeds to bring in 4 unloaded guns and tells Javaris to pick one. But Javaris is like, nah fam, I keep that thing on me, so here we go. Pulls out the iron on him. Boom. Now that's crazy. Everybody in the locker room going like, man, hey, y'all chill. You know, he got the gun on him. Arenas is like, dang, I ain't got to load it, man. His is fully loaded. Javaris got the thing cocked back probably. It's probably a very scary situation. But fortunately, the situation was de-escalated and everyone walked away unharmed. But Javaris did face consequences for the incident, as he pled guilty to a misdemeanor gun possession and received 1 year probation. He was also suspended from the NBA for the season, and upon return from his suspension, he was waived by the Wizards, and he then signed a non-guaranteed contract with the Charlotte Bobcats, but was waived 3 weeks later, basically ending his short NBA career 2 years after being drafted in the first round. He then briefly bounced around in the G League in China, but at this point his basketball career was basically over, and that's when the real trouble would start. He returned to the streets that he grew up on and constantly tried to prove to people that he was still about it and that he didn't go Hollywood. His loved ones even tried warning him multiple times about going back to his old neighborhood, basically telling him to leave that old stuff behind, but he was stubborn and continued to hang out with his old crowd. And on April 20th of 2011, he ended up getting robbed for $55,825 worth of property. And it's believed that Javaris knew the person who robbed him, and that it was actually one of his boys. But he refused to cooperate with cops, basically opting to handle it himself. He was robbed again on July 20th of $55,000 worth of jewelry, and this time he was also pistol whipped. These events eventually led to retaliation, and one of the suspected robbers ended up getting shot along with the innocent young mother of 4, who ultimately died because of the shooting. And on April 2nd of 2013, Javaris was indicted for the shooting, and 2 years later, on April 29th, 2015, he pled guilty to voluntary manslaughter and was sentenced to 23 years in prison. Unfortunately, as things stand right now, this is the end of Javaris' story. The sad part about the story is that he wasn't your stereotypical kid who grew up in a bad area, so that's the reason why he turned out this way. He had actually left that situation, turned over a leaf, and was a young man with a good head on his shoulders, doing positive things. And towards the end, I think he knew this, because he had posted a tweet saying, I don't know what's got into me. Sometimes I feel like I'm my own worst enemy. This lets me know that he was aware that he wasn't being his true self, and that what he was doing was bothering him, and that he understands that what he did was wrong. But in the end, he got what he deserved, because there are consequences for your actions, and you have to live up to those consequences as a man. But it doesn't make his story any less disappointing. But if there's anything that you could take away from this, is that if you're grown as a person, acknowledge your own growth. And if you deal with people who can't acknowledge your growth, leave them behind, because it might just be time for you to close that cycle. Well, that's it for the video. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.